Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another maintenance video on the Mk5 Golf GTI. I feel like all my work is taking place under the bonnet, but it is necessary, and when I show you what we are doing today, you will understand why this one is a little bit more tricky than some of the other videos I've done so far, and that's because the problem is buried deep down inside of there. I have got what I believe is a slight coolant leak. Now, I think this is a common thing on this platform of cars, or any car that uses this particular engine, but I also think this is a problem that occurs across a lot of Audis and VW, Skoda, Seats, and it's a coolant leak that most people do not find that easily. Now, when you've got a coolant leak, most people seem to turn to the thermostat or the coolant bottle, but I stumbled across this leak by accident. I was actually looking at something else and I noticed coolant, and there's quite a few telltale signs. What I've seen in the past on this car, what's led me to believe where I'm going to be looking is the problem. I will show you the part that I have actually bought. It is a genuine VW part, and the thing is, it only cost £25. I just think the O-ring's gone bad, or this plastic bit around here has gone bad. So I'll show you it on the car. It might be easier to explain. I've not even seen it because it's buried, but it sits deep down inside the car like so, and I don't know if you can see a sensor. No, I'd have to strip it down a little bit, but there is some sort of temperature sensor that plugs in this side. I'm not even sure what goes on these ends, but like I said before, this side goes into the engine, and I'm going to have a go at replacing it. So let's do it.
It's gonna be alright, yeah, yeah. How can you tell? Yeah, yeah. I feel it in my heart, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be okay, yeah, yeah. The sun is shining bright onto another day, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay. Hey, hey, hey. If at first you don't succeed, you better try again. Hey, hey, hey.
The vac pump is off the car, and I'm going to show you the reason why I think this coolant flange is leaking. Let me see if I can get my torch inside of there. If you can look down here, how wet everything is. I mean, I don't know really what you can see, but it's all over the gearbox. And what I believe is coolant is coming out of the flange and mixing with the oil that has been leaking out of the vacuum pump, which sits just above it, and it just looks like old oil, but I believe that is coolant. And what I think is the pressure builds up in the engine, and it's that hot that the coolant squirts out of that particular seal, what I'm best off doing is dropping the coolant out of the car, because when I do loosen that flange, a lot of coolant's probably going to come out of there, and there's just no point in it coming out of there. I may as well drain some of it now. I mean, coolant still will come out of there a little bit, but I may as well try and drain the majority from underneath the car, so we'll do that now. Right, after draining the coolant, I remove the temperature sensor or the coolant sensor, whichever one it is, and then I turn my attention to releasing the clamps on the hoses. Using the hose clamp pliers, I try and get in anywhere and anyhow I can, because it is so tight inside of here. I even use the flexible hose clamp pliers just to get in those hard to reach places and those hard to reach hose clamps. I'm not doing this in any particular order, I'm just releasing whichever clamp I can see that I can get to. And even though this looks like I'm making great progress, this is a little bit harder than what it actually looks. Whew, this is hard work. Let me show you where I am at. So, this is the coolant flange, and it sits pretty much in that position. So this one is this one, this one is this one, and this one is the one I've been struggling with, is to get that pipe off of there, which is this one here. So now if you look at the position of this flange, can you see where I've got to get to? I've got to get to that screw, that hole there underneath there, which is pretty much underneath, it's underneath that pipe there. So it is very difficult to film. I am trying, and we go again, still trying to get to those hard to reach hose clamps, and the only tool that is allowing me to get to those at the moment is this flexible hose clamp plier. Without this, I don't know how I would do this job. In order to get to some of these hard to reach hose clamps, I'm going to remove some other hoses out of the way, just so that I can get access to the hose clamps to release those, if that makes any sense to you. What a battle this was. I have actually got the flange out, and I'm not sure if you can see all the way inside there. That is, I think that's still part of that flange that's broken off. I'm gonna have to have a deeper look inside of there, but I'll show you the one that has been taken off and compare it with the new one. So this is it. This is the one that came off, obviously covered in gunk. This is the new one. This is what breaks off. It's not even got an O-ring on that one. Compared to the new one. Just to get that flange out, I'm not lying, that took me best part of 45 minutes to an hour. Fishing that out of the engine actually wasn't that bad. So here we go. That's the O-ring. It's dead flat compared to the one that's on there, but that's what happens, they just flatten. And this is the other part of this. If you are going to tackle a job like this, get one of these. Get one of these kits. eBay, they're about 25 quid, 30 pound. Get one of those, because I'm telling you now, you will struggle without it, and everything you need to do this job is in this kit. If you're a pro and you know what you're doing, that's fine, but if you're a DIY person like me, I would say get one of those. Inside there was this O-ring. Now, I could possibly just use the same O-ring, but I'm just wondering if it's worthwhile changing it, and I have got a bunch of O-rings here. I'm going to see if I've got one the same size, but the thing what I was going to say is that the new flange doesn't come with an O-ring. Right, well, I haven't got a O-ring that fits. I've just cleaned up the one that I had anyway, that was in the old flange. What I have got as well, I've got some silicone lubricant, so that's, I'm going to lubricate the O-ring. I'm going to lubricate all of these ends, lubricate the pipes, and hopefully everything will just slip back on in place, easier than what they came off anyway. Right, it's time to put this coolant flange in place. I thought I'd already done the hard part of this job by removing the coolant flange, but no, I was mistaken. The hard part of this job is putting this flange back in place. It is so difficult when you can't actually see where the screws need to screw into. I kept dropping the screw and then having to find it with a magnet, and then dropping the screw again and then having to find it again with the magnet. Lucky thing I bought this magnet just for this job. At this point I was praying, because I actually thought I had lost the screw. But luck was on my side and I found it. I managed to find a way to get the screw in place. That helped me to secure this coolant flange just to where I could get the second screw in place. When I tell you this is hard work, believe me, it really is. Just doing this is over an hour's worth of work. I don't like to use power tools on delicate screws like this, but I had no choice. The power tools had to come out because I was exhausted. The next job is to connect all the hoses back to the coolant flange, and this is not going well at all. Hi guys, well, it is the next day here, and I've got to say I was defeated. It was like going a few rounds with the car, and the car won, in all fairness. And today we go again. Right, so I'm going to try and show you what's going on inside of here, and the easiest way to show you is by getting the old flange. You got the bit where the sensor goes, which is this one here, So if I show you that now on the car, so that is this sensor here, which I have in place. Now I've got a pipe to put on here, which I don't think will be a problem. You can't see it in there as such. If I go from this angle, you might just see it if I point the light correctly. So this pipe, what I'm pointing to here, goes on that flange connector there, goes onto that pipe there. So those two are fine. Now the one that is the biggest problem, and I mean the biggest problem, the one I was fighting with for hours, is this lower one here, which I can't get on because I can't get to the, which is equivalent to these clips here. If you see those clips there, I just can't reach those. I can't reach those from the angle that it's at. If you look, there's two, I think these are for the heater, one here and one there. So what I'm going to do is where they go in, I'm not sure if I'm showing this correctly, but I don't know if you can see where they go into the body of the car, which is this one and the one underneath it there. So the one underneath, I'm going to take that out, which is then somehow connected there. It kind of tees off there to this pipe here, and then this pipe goes to this gearbox cooling thing here. I had to take this full thing off basically just to move that clip further to there. As you just seen, I've moved the clip just a few inches down. The only thing that is going to allow me to get to that clip once it's in there is this mechanism. I don't think you can do this really without, if you do, you're a genius, but I'm using this, and this will just basically just crimp. Can you see that? Where it basically just grabs, you put it in position and flip it round. Hoses are back in place, even that one, even that one that I took off, back. You can't see the one that was the hardest one, but even this one here is back on. I took this one off also, that is back on there. You can't see it, so the only thing I've got to plug back in is the sensor, which is dangling somewhere. In fact, it is there. That will just plug back in there, but I'm going to put some electrical spray in there, just because it might have got a lot of coolant inside of there. Oh, there's a clip, I can just see it. Can you see that one in there? That hose clamp there. Make sure I've got some light on there. Inside there, that's another one that was hard to get back on. But yeah, everything is back in place. I'm so happy. I'm just hoping it doesn't leak. Right, I have now got coolant in the car and I'm warming the car up to temperature, and as you can see I had the coolant up to about that mark there, and while the car is getting warm the coolant is now going down. You see it's bubbling inside of the bottle, so the car is basically burping out all the air that's trapped in the system. It's not filled right up. I'm expecting that coolant bottle to pretty much empty, but if we go inside of the car, I've got the heater on full and the temperature gauge has gone up to the half mark. I'm checking to see if there's any steam coming from anywhere, just to see if there's any leaks. So far, so good. So I'm checking in the spots down there where I actually... Oh, I can see a leak. See that? That little bit down there? With my eagle eyes and glasses, I found a pinprick of a leak, and it was caused by me. And I do remember when I did it, and I was hoping that it wasn't going to be anything too much. At the end of the screwdriver, right there, the pink little spots, and that is it. Either way, that's going to be losing less coolant than probably what I was losing before out of that broken flange. So I think I am going to end the video right there. If you like this kind of content, please give me a like, a share, a comment, a subscribe. It'll be much appreciated. And no doubt with this car and all the things I'm doing, I probably will catch you. In fact, most definitely will catch you in the next one. Bye for now. Right, it is a few days after I initially finished, and if you remember, I showed you that tiny coolant leak. Well, I have now fixed that. It was only a small job. It still took me the best part of 2 hours to do. That is the pipe, and it was that way around, so the pinprick would have been somewhere around there. On this side, it joins onto a metal pipe. For some reason it was stuck on there, so I used a blade to remove it, but removing that on its own took me round about 2 hours to remove. While I was in there, if you remember that coolant temp sensor or whatever it was, had the O-ring that I didn't have. Well, I ended up buying one from Volkswagen also, and it was a couple of pence. And I thought I might as well change that while I was in that region. Anyway, I just thought I'd come back on just to tell you that I've now replaced that pipe, and yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.